another video. This one will be really awesome, show you some cool stuff that you can use to customize your archives. As always, I'm using the Kadence theme, and I will first show you some basic settings inside of the Kadence theme customizer. The most of you probably will know those already, but I will also show you how you can use Kadence Elements to replace your archive loop item with something custom you create inside of Kadence Elements. Alright, let's get into it. First, you see my site is the same as my last video. I've made some dummy content. If you want to know how I did this, just check out the last video. It's only about 2 minutes long. It enables you to create instantly like this 10 posts without having to do anything for it with the thumbnail and stuff. And this is how it looks now. This is how it's set up in the customizer by default. So if I click, this is my homepage now. If I go to my cat 1, this is all uncategorized. I've made a cat 1 where some posts that have category 1 applied will be shown up, and this is how my custom archive now looks like. So I've enabled the breadcrumb, for example, and you can do this through the customizer. So you have to go to post pages layout, then you go to archive layout, and then you have the basic settings. Everything for the title is this first part here. So if I disable this, it will go away, and the title is also gone. So if you don't like the default title, just leave it disabled like this, and it's immediately gone. If you don't like the styling, you can make it inside of the content, more like this, so it's not with a different background stuff. You can change the layout where it's supposed to go. You can say that the minimum height has to be higher, lower, so all changeable. These are default settings, so it's not too difficult. Breadcrumb is disabled by default, I think. So this is this little link on top. So I like this because it enables your visitors to go back easily to the homepage. Title is this one, so if you disable it, you only have the breadcrumb and you don't have the title, so that's also a possibility. And description, I don't have one enabled now, so it's enabled, but I don't have a description, so there is nothing here even if it's enabled. This is the layout, so you can narrow full width. It's not looking nice full width because then sometimes it spans across the whole page, but now this is not too bad. Narrow is going to be too narrow probably, so it's a bit small now. And you know, I've already shown in a previous video how you can know which width is a normal width, which width does it take with a narrow width. I've already shown this in a previous video, how you can set up your Kadence theme the correct way. So these values are all set up beforehand normally, so you don't have to worry about these widths because you've already set them up. So this is some stuff here. Sidebar, if you want one, you can enable one. You can make it unboxed. This will mean you don't have the, like with the shadowy background, this is now gone. So you can, I like it more with the boxed layout. You can change the amount of columns that you want, of course. And then everything here is the post item layout, and this is the thing we are going to change with our Kadence Elements in a moment. So everything on top here, this is going to stick with the like the amount of columns, the normal width. This is going to stay the same. It's everything that's inside of here that we will be able to change by using Kadence Elements. So you can, again, just by clicking on it, you see the featured image is now gone, and if there is a little arrow, it means there is some more controls. So image is linked to post. If you disable this, this means that they can't click. If you click on it, it doesn't do anything. If I enable, it will take me to the full posts. This is always good to set up if it's not set up, because if you set it to inherit, you might have, if there is one image, let me see if there is one, you see here, so your whole layout will be messed up if there is one image that's a different height. So probably should take a standard width to height ratio. You can set it a little bit lower if you want less megabytes to load. Categories, these are the ones you see on top here. You can change the look. This is by default normal as the default one, and you can change the divider if you want to. And I changed it to the pill layout. Title, meta, this will be like the author and stuff if you want people if you want people to see who wrote it and you want the author also to have an archive, you can make it clickable. So all standard stuff that you probably, if you looked inside of the Kadence team already, you probably know. The excerpt, you can change the amount of words that the excerpt should have, if it's longer or less, or you can show the full content, but then yeah, you have something like this, and yeah, it's a bit strange, so never do this. Read more, you can change the, you see I've changed it to just more. By default it will be read more. So these are some basic settings, and then the other tab is design, and design is everything with the colors, with the the colors of this background, the font size, the font weight, also for this. So you can change a lot of stuff. The only thing you can't change is the order. For example, if I want my title to be first, then the image, and then the excerpt, there is no way to do this inside of the customizer, so it always sticks to this default layout. And for most cases, I actually like it a lot. It looks really clean, really nice. You can change the font size, you can make it your own thing. But I will show you, if you want to do something different, how you could go around and do it. If we go out of the customizer, I'll leave this open so we can see in a later stage what changed. I go to my appearance elements, I click on a new one, and I will make this a custom archive for category 1. I'm going to change this to a template, and then I have to check where I want it. So I have to replace not the single post content, but now I want to replace my archive loop item content, and I want to display it. You can change this to all archives, so all archives will inherit the styling we will make, but you can also say I only want some specific archive. You see I have a custom post type, for example, houses. If I want my houses archive to be different, that's perfectly fine. I can go to my posts, my category archives, and I can say I only want individually cat1. So only this one, the category 1 archive, will take in everything that I changed now in my element, and all the others will take the default styling like this, how I set it up in the customizer. So you have a possibility to make 5 different archives if you want to. Yeah. User settings, just all users is fine, and I will click on update. The only thing you have to be careful about, if I now clicked on update, this means that by now the Kadence team will import this instead of the default content. So let me refresh, and you will see my whole archive is gone, it's empty, and that's because I haven't put anything in here. So be sure, if you go out of it and you're not ready yet, just put it on a draft, because if I now go back and refresh, you will see it's taking back the default styling in the customizer. So just don't be like me and leave it unpublished and say I'm going to work on it tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, and then in the meantime people will see nothing, or will see like a half layout that's not really finished yet. So just be careful. If you're not ready yet, you have to make sure that you disable it. Okay. So we're going to use an info box. You can use whatever box or whatever block you want, of course, to change it. But this, I will show you why I chose this, because it's a really easy way to have an image, the title and the excerpt of the post, a little bit like it's now, or it was before, yeah. But now it's going to be the image first, for example, yeah. The link, I'm going to click on this dynamic icon. I'm going to do this a lot because I want to import all the featured image, I want to import the title, and I want to import the excerpt, so I have to make it dynamic. Also the link should be dynamic, and I want it to be the post URL. This is going to make sure that when people hover over this box and they click on it, they go to the full post. And I want it to be the entire box, or you can say the learn more text, it's not here yet, but if I do this, they will click on the button to go to the post, and everything else is not really clickable. Let's leave it at entire box for now. Let's go to my media settings. The media align is top, so this icon is on top. You can also choose left or right. Let's leave it at top, and I'm going to change this to an image. And you will see I already have the opportunity again to make it a dynamic image. Let's click on dynamic, and then let's make it the featured image. And you see immediately it imports the featured image of this post. Now what's important is that I don't leave this to inherit, but that I, for example, change it to, it was 4x3 in the customizer, and I can maybe leave it at this as well, because otherwise if I leave it to inherit and the image is differently oriented, it might be messing up the layout again. Yeah. Hover animation, this is cool. You can make, like, for example, grayscale to color, and this means by hovering it will go from grayscale to the color to version, for example. Do we have to do anything else here? Yes, we're going to remove all the margins by setting it to 0. And we're also going to remove the padding by setting it to 0. Let's click on update, and you will see, if I now go to my cat 1, you will see it's already imported the thumbnail dynamically, but you see the title, let me go back, but the title and the excerpt, they are all the standard ones, so they are not dynamically imported. It's just like the default title and lorem ipsum, that's literally taking over from this title and this text here. So this has to be made dynamic yet. The only thing the other thing I want to change is this border between the image and the background of the box. I don't like, so I want to remove the padding that's here on the right, the left, and on the top. I've already removed everything, padding and margin, from my image, but you see the container itself. So if I go up, container settings, you will see there is some padding here as well. This is this 20 pixels. If I remove this, I make it 0, refresh, you will see now the image spans across the whole width, and I like this more. We can set a padding for this text individually and for the title as well, so we can do that later. Container background, you can change. This is the beige background, for example, bluish, or you can choose. Make sure you change your font color accordingly so it's still readable. So let's just make like a little bit more bluish background. You will see it immediately will take this as well, you see. And you see when I hover, it colors the image, and it also changes the background of my box. And I can change the hover color by going to this tab. And I'm just going to take something that's obvious, but it's not probably going to be really nice. So now it's going to hover and make it a bluish background, but then I have to make sure that my text is also going to change to a lighter color. Like now you will see it's not too readable, for example. Yeah. So, but this is the hover tab. Let me just remove this again so it looks a bit nicer. So this is all we have to do with the container settings for now. Then we go to the title settings. You will see if I showed you the title settings, there is no icon here for like dynamic content, but we have to go inside here and click, and then you will see it's here now. Yeah, so it's a little bit confusing maybe, but it's still possible. We can change, this has to be the post title and add dynamic content. Let me remove the title. Yeah, so now it's pulling in the dynamic content of the title, and I can change the font size. I can change this to an H3. I can say it has to be 30 pixels. Line height, letter spacing is all set. Can you set here? Text transform, you can set font family if you want to change it. Otherwise it will inherit the font family you've set in the customizer. Font weight, ultra bold, you can change everything here. And here we can set the padding individually. So if you like the padding of 20 pixels from the left and from the right, we can set it here, and now it's going to apply to this title. The margin from the top, if you want more spacing between the title and the text, then you have to change the bottom one. But it's better to click on update first and refresh here, so you can see it live, because it's only one element here, it looks a little bit different, of course, than seeing it in the 3-column version. So we can see, do we like this spacing and this spacing, yes or no, and then you can change accordingly. Like this is too close to the border, so we have to go back. For example, we can do this with the container settings on the top. We go to the padding. We have to click on this box to do it individually, and we only check the bottom, and we take 30 pixels at the bottom. Update. Refresh to see if it's good, and now you see we have a little bit more space and it's already looking nicer. Yeah. Next thing we have to do is make this dynamic content, so we have to remove the default text, and you will see it's again going to be here that we have to apply it. We go to the post excerpt and we click on add dynamic content, and that should work. So now this text will probably, if I refresh, you'll see the text has changed. The only thing you will see now is that the excerpt sometimes is a bit longer and you see the boxes don't align. So this one is a bit bigger than the other one. So at the top they align perfectly, but at the bottom they sometimes have a bit of a difference, but we can fix that as well. Let me show you in a minute. So text settings, this is applying now to this excerpt that I've imported. You can change the color, font size, all same settings as before. You can set padding as well. So we're going to do the 20 from the left and from the right. This is just a little bit nicer looking with some spacing, but you could also set the padding here at the bottom to 30, and this will also make sure that there is enough space in between. So this can be set in the container settings like we've did now, or also individually here. Margin, you can change if you want to set some margin from the bottom or from the top, left, right. And then we can use this min height, for example. Let me refresh and see with the padding if it's still, now it's already with the padding applied. It looks like it's all lining up perfectly. Yeah, but you see these are all by 3 lines now, but you see this one, if there would be 2 posts more, this is only 2 lines big, and if the one next to it would also have 3, it would probably again be a little bit lower. So how can we fix this? We can set this a min height. Then we have to play around with some values a little bit. Let's say 100 pixels and click on update. And now you see that it's got a little bit bigger, so the minimum height will be 100. If there is more text, it can still grow bigger, but if there is not a lot of text, like here, only 2 lines, it will still take the minimum height of 100, and that's normally sufficient to make every box align nicely. Let me remove the padding so you can see. Set it to 0 again, like it was before, so with the uneven boxes. So now you see this is 3 lines big, this is 2 lines big, but still the boxes align perfectly fine to the bottom. So by setting a min height, we can fix the styling. But I'm going to set the padding again because I don't like this touching the border of my box almost. So go back individually, 20 and 20. Update. Learn more, you can enable. And you can style it. You see if I hover over it, it gets a background color, but you can set a default one. So if you want to make it look like a button, for example. Oh, that was not something I would wanted to do. You can change this here, and this will enable people to click on it and go to the article, but then you probably should set the link options to only learn more text, because otherwise it's a bit confusing. Let me show. Now they will have the button, and if I hover over it, you see my cursor doesn't change. Also on the image it doesn't change, so people normally will see, oh, I can't click on the article to open it, but if you hover here, you see it changes to a clickable button, and then they go to the article. If you set it to the entire box, the link will be applied. You see everything, everywhere where I hover, the button is changing, so it's obvious normally that you can click here or here or here, doesn't really matter, but you can still enable the button, of course. You can style it how you like it, okay? But you see, this is already, it enables us to make a really cool effect. This is not possible, this hover effect, with the default customizer one, so this is, I like this one. And then we can also do some other cool stuff. Let me show you. So these are the basic things you can do. You can set a shadow. This is more like the boxed look. And you can change it by hovering over it. Let me click on update and show you. There is a default shadow always installed. If I hover, you see the shadow effect. So it's also, I like the shadow effect. I like how it looks. And then I also would like a sort of animation. So when the page loads and I scroll down, I want like these appearing, like fading in, and that's also something we can do now that we've styling it with the elements. It's not in here because I only have conditional display. This is not what I want, so I have to open this up, and now we're going to add a section block. Insert before section, and now we have to put the info box inside of the section. Let's drag it inside. So now we have a section and our same info box is inside. If we don't change any settings of this section, it will probably not mess up the layout. I think it will just look exactly the same and we'll still have all the same effects. Yeah. So we're not going to do any styling with my section here because that would probably mess it up a little bit. But what I have now, animate on scroll, click it open, animation, I want it to, you can change whatever you want. You see you have a lot of options. Let me maybe make something fade, just take the fade up one. This is not too intrusive and it looks nice. We can set the duration. Let me start with 300 milliseconds. Let's ease it in. You can see if this is only once per page load. I will show you in a minute. Pixel offset, if you want it to be a little bit more, let me show you first. So I refresh and now you see it was fading in, but if I go down, you see it's fading in as well. Yeah, but it's almost not visible. And now you will see it will every time I scroll up and down again, it will always do the effect. If I set this to true, it will only do it once, and once I scrolled up again and then down again, it won't do it again. But I don't like it should be delayed a little bit. For example, with 650 milliseconds, let's see. And now you will see it loads the page, and then after half a second it only applies the effect. Yeah, so this is something you can set up here as well and here as well. So it's more like a delay, but you could also leave this like it is, and then you say I want my pixel offsets to be 200 or maybe 100 pixels. 100 pixels. And this means that we have to scroll 100 pixels further down before the effect takes place. So maybe a bit more, so it's more obvious. Let's go to 200 pixels. And let's refresh the page. Now you see I have to scroll a little bit further down until it loads. Yeah. So the combination of this with a little bit of start delay, let's take 200 also, but you can play around with this and see what works for you. And now you see it's more like coming up when I scrolled down more, and just a nice looking effect. Yeah, the other effects that we set with the element are also still applicable, and this is something else you can do by putting it inside of a section. Of course, you have a lot of options. You can change this animation to another thing and all the other parameters, but now it will slide in from the right, so you see, but this is not looking too nice, I think. So play around with it, pick whatever works for you. Just a normal fade is something you see a lot on websites, and it's probably also the best thing here, so it just like fades from the background in. But play around with it. You can set your styling whatever you want, and if you have any problems, let me know. Hope this helps you, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.